today is the final day of Chhath Puja. Prayers are being offered from early this morning across several states and in Delhi as well. In fact, in Delhi, Chhath Puja prayers over the last couple of days have really put the focus onto the Yamuna river and the toxic foam that we see floating on top of the river. There you can see even in this, in these visuals, you can see that white foam floating on top of the Yamuna. This has really led to a lot of outrage, but this is not a recent problem. It's not a problem of the last few days, but a perennial problem that we've seen with a very polluted Yamuna in the national capital. In fact, yesterday we saw some stopgap measures being taken by Delhi authorities. In fact, yesterday stopgap measures were taken with the water being sprayed on the foam in the Yamuna, and you also saw boats on the Yamuna trying to dissipate the foam that was seen on top. Barricades were also made so that devotees would not have to actually take a dip right there in the foamy water. And this morning as well, see these visuals of the foam on the Yamuna. So the pollution in the Yamuna really coming into focus. This is because of a high ammonia levels, high phosphate levels in the Yamuna that is leading to this high pollution level and foam on top of the Yamuna. Well, to talk more about this, we're now joined by Dipender Kapoor, Senior Water and Sanitation Expert, former Head WaterAid India, Meena Sehgal, Senior Fellow Environment and Health at TERI, and Manohar Khushalani, former Director, National Water Academy. All right, joining us for more. Thank you so much for joining us. And Dipender Kapoor, first to you. And if we talk about the Yamuna, pollution problem, now it's become this political blame game. You have the BJP blaming the AAP is blaming BJP. But for people to understand better, it's not about cleaning the Yamuna river. The issue is really the pollution that we put into the Yamuna, isn't it?
Yes, it's both the pollution that we put into Yamuna in terms of our untreated sewage. It's also the reduced base flows. The Yamuna is a dry river actually. So all the water, if it is impounded before Delhi, it enters Delhi. And then you pump in about 800 million gallons per day of virtually poorly treated, one could say, sewage. Then that is the result we have. So it has nothing to do with earlier what was touted as industrial pollution, a lot of industries were closed down in Delhi, citing industrial pollution. Then, a lot of Jhuggi Jhompri were relocated, citing Jhuggi Jhompris were contributing to the Yamuna pollution. But finally, we know it is our sewage treatment plants which don't work, which actually contribute to the situation of Yamuna.
All right. And Manohar Khushalani, now this is something, water pollution, the Yamuna pollution, Ganga pollution has been talked about for decades now. We've had the Ganga Action Plan, the Yamuna Action Plan, sewage treatment plants have been built. But instead of indulging in a blame game, we need cooperation between Delhi, between UP, between Haryana, because it is drains from Haryana and UP that are leading to a lot of the pollution that we're seeing in the Yamuna today.
See, this blame game is not going to work. It has the officials from both the sides and the senior people from both the sides have to get together and treat it, because environment is a national problem. Even the Prime Minister, when he went abroad and he stressed his, put his name behind the fact that he's going to improve the environmental situation in his own country. And so I'm quite certain that if pressure is put on the top between both the government, I don't think we should treat this as a political and a party issue. The most important thing is you have to treat environment as not only national issue, but as an issue that is facing the whole world. And just think of it. We are the ones, the people who are fighting with each other are also going to drink the same water. So you have to be very sure that the kind of solution that has to be taken out. See, there are certain things which are pending. Like there is drain number 6 and drain number 8. Drain number 8 brings that issue. People have both the states have agreed. Delhi and Haryana. Then those drains, sometimes one carries water and one carries sewage. Drain 6 carries sewage, and drain 8 carries sewage and 6 carries water. So these drains sometimes they overflow. So what has to be done is one of the two drains has to be put through a conduit. I don't know what is the progress in that area. That is very important.
But this is the point. I've been hearing this for years because I've been reporting on, Yamuna pollution, about the Najafgarh drain, about, the Hindon Canal bringing pollution to the Yamuna. And all of us here on the panel know about these issues, and it's mind-boggling that even now nothing is done. And it's again not an AAP issue, not a BJP issue, because it's disgraceful for the national capital to have such a polluted river running through it. I'll just go across to our reporter Meher, who joins us from the Yamuna. In fact, she's on a boat there. She has been covering this Chhath Puja over the last few days, and that's what's really brought the focus back onto the Yamuna, isn't it, Meher? But it's become this political blame game, and it's an issue that requires our continued focus.
Yes, so where I am right now in the middle of the Yamuna is exactly it shows what all the different problems are and all the different governments responsible and not acting fast enough. As you can see, the froth is endless. This is due to lots of chemicals in the water, due to effluents from multiple governments. Delhi, Haryana and UP all release untreated water into the Yamuna, which makes the water foam up when there is surface disturbance. And also we, of course, are on a boat. We saw the fishermen bring in a net, and as you can see, there are more pollutants. There is more dirt, more plastic bags, more literal dirt than any fish. And this is their situation every single day. It really shows all of the different problems right here on the Yamuna. Of course, air pollution is just as bad. Right there is Noida, and right here is Delhi. And the smog, you can also see there is a haze. And of course, this is the morning time, but the haze is throughout the day. We were here yesterday as well in the afternoon, evening, throughout that time. There is a haze across this area. The smog is also endless. Noida, the air quality is in the severe category, and Delhi is very close to severe at 399. It is very poor. There has been very slow improvement in Delhi's air quality. And right here is the linchpin of all of the issues with pollution, air pollution, water pollution. Of course, the water is really bad. We've taken a sample of this water to see exactly what the pollutants are. But we know that there are phosphates, surfactants, detergents from the industries nearby that release untreated water. And it has become a site of a political blame game. The BJP has taken photo ops here, taking photos and videos with this froth, saying the Delhi government isn't acting enough. The Delhi government is saying the UP and Haryana governments are not acting enough. But of course, the people paying the highest cost of all of the inaction and blame game are the people who are praying here, and also the people who rely on the Yamuna for their livelihood. They are not being able to catch enough fish in a day. Their fish is also dying before they are able to get it out of the water. Their nets are full of dirt and pollution, and they are breathing in toxic fumes from the water and of course the air as well.
All right,
this
so an
really
impact
shows all of the different things going wrong and all of the inaction.
Right, a blame game, and it's our health that's suffering. Meena Sehgal, in fact, Yamuna water is supplied to some areas, and that has been affected over the last couple of days because of the high ammonia content in the Yamuna river. So this is something that's, directly impacting the health also of citizens.
Yes, ma'am. Thanks for inviting me. The heavy metals, the surfactants, the PFAS, which is really responsible for some of these foam pieces that you see. They hurt human health in a big way. We should be monitoring the quality of water throughout. It's just during cooler parts of the year that these foam particles are formed. And they affect our health, the liver, kidney, lungs, brain, even birth weight of the children of communities living in the floodplains of Yamuna would get affected. We've had conducted studies before COVID and during COVID, and we found that levels drastically dropped during the month of May last year. and there were no heavy metals that we could detect in the water. So it is possible to reduce the water. The Yamuna itself is not a dirty river. It's just what we release into the river. So it could be industrial pollution, sewage, or some of these industries which are specifically using PFAS. There are non-stick pans that you and I use, personal products which we use, which have surface coatings on them. They're
Right.
water resistant and grease resistant coatings. So those all get released sooner or later through industries which are violating norms. So there could be a task force which includes environment groups, health groups, and administration who put these regulations in place and follow the guidelines and monitor throughout the year. It's just the foam that is showing it to us. Today we
Right,
see
it's the
it.
foam that is
Otherwise-
making it apparent, but the water has remained polluted for so long. Vimlendu Jha, you've also been, campaigning on this, NDTV, and we've been campaigning, and you've been a part of that about cleaning the Yamuna and talking about the pollution in the Yamuna. But these solutions are all known. All these regulations are all known, but we just can't seem to do it. People can't seem to cooperate. Governments just can't seem to cooperate and just stop this sewage from going straight into the Yamuna.
Absolutely, Gargi. So we've been, you and I have been on the river for at least 2 decades now, several times. The governments have changed, but the problem remains the same. And that is because it's a shared problem between states. And right now, what we're actually seeing for the first time in my 2 decades of work on Yamuna, for the first time, I'm actually seeing, rather than actually acknowledging that there is a problem, we actually put the blame on the other. It's very, very important for all of us to understand that if Delhi's contribution is 800 mgd, only 150 is coming from Haryana and Uttar Pradesh. So for all of us to understand that 150 is bigger than 650 is a great disservice to Yamuna cleaning. It's very, very important that Delhi government also realizes its duty, its accountability, its responsibility to clean Yamuna. 80% of Yamuna's pollution actually happens in this 22-kilometer stretch. I think all this change will only happen when there is a political, urgency or a will, or similarly, the bureaucratic will or urgency in that sense. There's no water in the river. Very, very important aspect is minimum flow. And as you rightly said, collaboration. It's a shared resource and therefore needs to have a shared responsibility.
You see,
Right,
besides
Dipender
the
Kapoor-
surface water,
Yes, sir.
I just want to say one very important thing, if you allow me.
Yes, go ahead.
Besides the surface water, there is one very big danger, that is aquifers of Delhi, which stand a huge risk. Just imagine the aquifer is the underground water, which stores the water. Now, if the aquifers get contaminated, and that happens the way we manage the sewage in our own city. Look at right behind NDTV, there used to be a nala, which was an open drain. That has been covered. So many nalas all over Delhi have been covered. What is happening is, earlier
And
they
that
were
nala is not coming from Haryana and Uttar Pradesh. That's Delhi's sewage.
No, absolutely. And Delhi has to solve its problem as well and not dump waste into the Yamuna as well as other states. But a final word, Dipender Kapoor, if you can very quickly, just explain this point about the low flow of the Yamuna, because this also people don't understand. Ganga and Yamuna, a lot of the water is diverted to agriculture and a lot of water is stopped. So the flow is very low, which also leads to this pollution problem.
You're asking me?
Yes.
No, Delhi consumes, as I said, Delhi releases about 800 mgd. About 80% of its 1100 mgd. And if the river is, barraged at the Hathi Kund, where a lot of water for Delhi is being extracted, then, what do we expect to flow in the river? So I think to conclude this kind of a discussion, we should also look at how the Delhi master plan is looking at it. So unfortunately, the Delhi Master Plan, which was just released in June for draft consultation, says nothing about decentralized treatment of sewage. That is, if you want to treat sewage and ensure pollution-free Yamuna, then you should have a proper plan for decentralized sewage. The other is, if Delhi continuously depends upon 3 to 4 rivers, from Satluj to Ganga, Yamuna, then, where do we see water security in the future? Again, the Delhi Master Plan, while talking of water security, does not talk about treating wastewater to drinking water standards. Or it doesn't even
Right.
set a target of, say, 25% or 50% of our 1100 or 1500 MGD, which it anticipates will be the demand by 2040. At least 50% or 40 or 30% should be for drinking water standards. And when we set some higher standards, then we will ensure that Yamuna is also not polluted.
All right,
Currently,
so we don't
that is
need
nowhere
mere...
on the
used to be-
agenda.
All right,
There
I'm
used
sorry,
to
I'm
be
completely
sweet
out of
farms.
time, but clearly we don't need lip service. We know what needs to be done, and we have to, again, the media, activists, everybody has to get together and pressurize authorities also to ensure that this happens. It doesn't become something we talk about, you know, every once a year when Chhath Puja happens and we see these visuals on the Yamuna. Thank you so much all for joining us on the program this morning. Thank you.